Freedom fighters, I'm coming back at you with another one. What do we got here today? Beans, band-aids, bullets, and bullion is going to be the topic for today. Kind of discuss, the times we are living in. So, I posted a meme from Elon Musk about a week ago. It's a pretty popular one. You've probably seen it before. I'll try to edit it in here and insert the meme in case you haven't seen it. But anyway, it starts with a American Morgan silver dollar, and then it goes to a silver certificate dollar, and then to a United States dollar, and it says that's "you are here," and then it goes to a Zimbabwe dollar, and then a bullet. And we talked about that whole thing. So if you don't know, your money was once silver, which was the Morgan dollar, and I went over and I did a comprehensive precious metals video before, which I highly recommend you check out, because I'm not going to go into that whole thing specifically here. But basically, the sentiment of the meme is, you start out with true money, gold and silver, which is in our Constitution. Then you go to a paper, which is not necessarily bad, as long as it's backed by the physical, metal itself. And you can, transact or switch, your paper certificates for the value of the metal at any time. And then you go to, a backed, a banker dollar, which is basically the failure, and they always inflate and fail and go to zero. Every country in the world is fake currency has gone to zero and become monopoly money that has littered the streets, or toilet paper they wipe their ass with. So, that's where it goes, and then it turns into Zimbabwe, which is the famous, $billion notes. They might even be $1 trillion notes. I can't even remember. So, that's where we are at in today's, world. And the ever, inflating economy. And that's what I wanted to touch on and kind of say, where are we headed? And I've done videos on this before. I've, projected or tried to imagine what the future looks like. And, on a preparedness style channel, we wouldn't be talking about preparedness if you didn't foresee chaos, right? And that's what I see coming. And with all the recent news going on and everything we're facing, I don't know if you've seen these recent videos of people saying, with the government shutdown and all that stuff, and if they don't get their welfare and all the benefits, they're like, we're going to start, just stealing from Walmart, which they already do. I mean, you've seen all these flash mob, looting in the mall, multi-group robberies, at 7-Elevens, and jumping the counters and taking all the alcohol and cigarettes, which isn't covered on EBT or welfare anyway, so they steal that stuff. But, now just grocery items. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna be hitting you over the head when you get your groceries. We're going to follow you outside of the grocery store and take your groceries. We're going to sit outside of the ATM and take your money. And they're already doing that as well. I mean, that's been long documented that they're having stakeout teams outside of ATMs or whatnot. And ultimately, that's kind of what I'm saying here, is it's going to get bad. And and one of the things we've often said on the channel, stealing from a old YouTube member, Risky Krisky, it's going to get worse before it gets worse, right? And we haven't seen anything yet, and it's going to get bad. And I did a video before, I can't remember exactly which one that was called. I think it was called, you're not ready for what's coming. And I don't think most people can even grasp the savagery and the brutality we're about to see. And like I said, they're already posting videos. We're going to be out there. We're going to be, attacking people for their groceries. You're going to see home break-ins and stuff like that increase. Um, and you already know how the system is. If you ever defend yourself against these people, you'll most likely be finding yourself in trouble. We've seen plenty of cases of this. And you have to be on guard, and you have to be the protector not only of yourself but of your family. And I saw another video where a guy sent his wife out, and she got attacked in the grocery store, and just countless videos of previous to the election of women getting beaten because of the sticker you put on your wife's car, right? Take off all the political stickers, all that stuff. Don't send your wife or whoever, your daughter, your sister, out there in the jungle, the landscape, having to deal with this, and then put them in the situation where they have to defend themselves. And hopefully, you gave them the training and knowledge to defend themselves. And for some reason, women don't get prosecuted on this like as men. Like when a woman defends themselves, it's usually pretty straightforward, and people usually don't complain, right? But if a man defends themselves, for some reason, it's some kind of different standard. And we're not going to get into some of the other political things there, but we've seen it all, with Daniel Penny and the New York subway and countless other things. But, yeah, man, things are going to continue to get expensive. And I just can't believe, I wanted to cover with the rise of precious metals and everything like that. I went there the other day, just right before it hit 50. And luckily I got 2 new pieces, and it was just some standard bullion and stuff like that. And it was just insane to me, man, that I spent $100 on 2 ounces. That's just crazy. Like 2 of these, man, 2 pieces is gonna be $100. And I, back in the day, I was like saving up. I'd put the cash in the jar, $20 at a time, and like wait to get to like $300 or $400. And if I got to a 300, that was a tube, right? I'd get the the full tube here, and I was like, okay, that felt like an accomplishment. And sometimes I would go piece by piece, and I would eventually fill up a tube. But now, just to walk out with 2 ounces, for $100 was just almost insane to me. But I kind of had that, last bit of FOMO too, where I was like, well, I might as well get my last 2 ounces before, I'm like priced out of the market for eternity. Because that's probably where it's going. And, it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes $100 an ounce or above. You've probably seen a lot of these precious metal gurus talking lately. One of Peter Schiff's, statements that he made was he didn't want to live in a world with $5,000 gold. Well, we're, right around the corner. $5,000 gold is gonna happen. And, we already see the state of the world. But, that's where we're headed. And things are going to continue to get more expensive, unaffordable. It's going to inflate, to Zimbabwe dollars. That's kind of the point I was getting into, where, and the price of precious metals doesn't even matter. Like in my other precious metals video, I explained, in detail. It doesn't matter if it's, you hear all these wild numbers of people coming out. If this becomes 10,000, 100,000, $1 million an ounce silver to, 5 or 10 million an ounce gold. If you're still valuing it in US dollars, it's still not true value, and it's still, you're in a country that's being run by the central banks, and you're still in the slave system run by the banking cartel. So price doesn't really matter. And again, if you're paying that for an ounce of silver or whatnot, then you're in Zimbabwe, right? Your milk is 10,000, whatever, 50,000, $100,000 a gallon. You're walking in to the grocery stores with wheelbarrows full of worthless cash, worthless paper, and that's why you turn that paper into actual, physical metals or assets in general, which I'll probably do another video covering on that because I recently was talking to someone who gave me some insight on stuff like that too. But so here we are. We had a little dip this week. Came out on Monday and it went up to the highs of like 54. Maybe it did touch 55 and had a huge drop. Went back to $50. So possibly another buying opportunity for people. And it's all becoming unaffordable. I think it was Mike Maloney that coined the terms, unaffordium and then unattainium. And, that's where we're headed. And it's going to be everything, man. It's going to be food. It's going to be your essentials. It's going to be the staples. And people are going to get priced out of living. And it's going to get bad. It's going to get ugly. And I foresee the societal breakdown and the crash of society, and ultimately what that turns into. It foments anger, and that's when you get your wars and revolutions, and that's what I see coming. The government's still shut down. Who knows, what they're concocting or trying to form a plan there. Again, is it really going to affect us? They're just going to backstab us once again, sell us down the river. And it's both sides. I've said this over and over again during plenty of the other omnibus bills and debt ceiling spending bills or whatnot. The Republicans will ultimately cave. We'll sell something, they'll sell us down the river to stab us in the back. For all the people who are like, oh, Trump's going to go in there and save it and do this or do that. I mean, he just did another thing where during a shutdown, when we're trillions of dollars in debt, he goes and says, oh, well, we got to bail out Argentina. $20 billion to Argentina. If that's not bad enough, it was like a few days later, oh, they need more money. We're going to double it, another $20 billion to Argentina. Okay? And that's not anything, I don't have anything against Argentina or the Argentinian people, but that's not an American first policy, and they're not even like an ally. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe Argentina is a NATO country or NATO, and even we have NATO countries that we're not really friendly with, and I believe shouldn't even be allies. We shouldn't be bailing out the world and doing all this stuff with all the problems we have at home. And then he goes on to say, oh, well, on top of the money, we're going to subsidize their agriculture and all this and their meat, and we're buying Argentina beef and, basically hurting our farmers. Which I did a video on that a while back, too, saying we're already a socialist country. And I talked about how our farmers, it's not this image of, the good old cowboy and, the ranchers and the Yellowstone Hollywood version of the farmer, or the rancher nowadays, right? Most of these people are under government contracts, and as you saw during COVID or, any of these events, when they tell them to dump the milk, they dump the milk. When they say burn the crops, they burn the crops. When they say slaughter the animals, they slaughter the animals. And they, like I say, everyone's doing as they're told and is a law-abiding, order-following, bitch-ass slave. And, they're like, oh, yeah, this is a real kick to the farmers and all this. Again, a lot of these farmers are, taken over already by the industrial complex of, this whole system, the trap. And that's what we're wrapped up. And I think I pretty much got the point across in this video. Let me know what you think. Is it going to get any better or is it going to get worse? Where do you think we're headed? What's coming? What kind of times are we living in? Till the next one, you know what it is, man. We are on our own. Nobody's coming to save us. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom fighters out.